Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joyla Jure, and you're watching Mature Musicians Interview with Jon Newmark. And we have some interesting video today for you. In the meantime, before we start talking with Jon, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Luscious Moss Studio, owned and operated by Chad Christ. He has a very creative and conducive environment for your video or recording issues. And he started out with drums and guitar, and now he's producing music quite frequently. He does mine. So if you have any needs at all, you can find him on Facebook under Luscious Moss Studio or Chad Christ, Quist, and you can find the information going across the reader board at the bottom of this screen. So with that, I want to say hi, Mark, and I'm Mark. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he's your partner some of the time. Jon, it's good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. So one of the things I'd like to start out with is when you got started with music and who your influences were and what kind of instrument you may have started with.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, early on, very early, I think my first musical influences at all were my parents, who played a lot of the early folk music of the late 50s and early 60s. So,
Right.
we were listening to records by the Limelighters and, the New Christy Minstrels and the, all those sort of era of that kind of stuff. So
Right.
we heard a lot of that. And then, of course, by the time, the Beatles came around, my mom was very heavily into listening to like rock and blues. So she was
Right.
definitely tuned into the AM stations, and we were hearing all the new stuff coming out. So, those were definitely my earliest influences by far. And really didn't start getting into playing music. I want to actually, an interesting aspect of this was that when I was 10, I started going to a summer camp. And this was like 1967. So the counselors were either, fresh back from Vietnam, or they were, on their college breaks or whatever. And so around the campfires at camp, I was hearing a lot of music played on guitar. Everything from early Bob Dylan to all sorts of different things, Simon and Garfunkel. And so I wanted to play guitar, and my parents thought my fingers were too small for guitar, so they bought me a ukulele, which I never really took to. But very early on after that, I met a guy in junior high school that was playing guitar, and he had older brothers that played guitar, so they were teaching him. He started teaching me, and I got my first guitar back then in probably around 8th grade. And we started playing songs together, and that sort of blossomed into playing at the talent shows at the school. And then before you know it, we were playing at parties, and we got pretty good. We were playing a lot of the early singer-songwriters like Cat Stevens and James Taylor. And of course, being from Colorado, where I grew up, we listened to a lot of John Denver at the time. And those were definitely the artists that we sort of
the day. Yeah.
Neil Young, early Neil Young. So that's kind of how I got my start in guitar. And about the same time, I actually started playing drums in school band, because they didn't offer guitar. And I wanted some kind of an instrument that was in a rock band, as opposed to like a violin or a sax. Well, I guess the phone might have worked, but I started playing drums, and I slowly built up buying a drum set. And, things kind of took off from there. So I kind of did a little bit of drumming, a little bit of guitar playing, mainly guitar through the junior high and high school years. But then things started switching after that. And right after high school, I started working in a record store. This was in Colorado, and it was called Budget Tapes and Records.
Where was this, Jon? What city in Denver?
Oh, well, I grew up in Lakewood, which is kind of a western suburb of Denver. And when I started working at Budget, I worked at a couple of different shops in Arvada and Westminster and kind of all over the place. So, but, when I started working at Budget, there were guys there that were definitely older than me that just totally schooled me on music. I thought I knew a lot when I started working there, and I didn't know anything. So So they taught me just a massive amount about music, and that was a huge help there. And I also met a guy that I worked with that was a singer in a rock band. And when they had an opening for a drummer, I became their drummer. And
Cool.
so we started playing at parties and proms and all these other kinds of things. And eventually we got to a point where we had been booked by an agency out of Denver called AME. And they told, I remember one of the greatest days of my whole life was when they said, quit your day job. And we actually went on the road full time as a rock band. And we were
Wow.
traveling all around the country in 2 Dodge vans and a U-Haul trailer, and playing gigs all over the place. And that was a great experience. So did a lot of that for a number of years. And then
What is it like your first time? The first time you actually performed for money and with the band?
um, oh, it was great. Yeah, I mean, you know, we had been playing for parties and a couple of proms and things like that. But when we got hired by the agency, I mean, that was like a huge deal, because to get with the agency, you had to kind of audition for them. So anytime they called, you had to just jump and do whatever they wanted. And we still had day jobs. So, you know, you'd go play in a club
Oh,
until 2 in the morning, and then get up at 6 o'clock to go to work. And then right after work, you'd go back to the club and
oh.
play again.
You can
Uh,
do that when you're young, John. Can you do
yeah,
that now?
yeah, now I can't do that. So, but when they told us to
Sure.
quit our jobs and go on the road full time, it was like, it was almost hard to comprehend how great that was. And, you know, it was a wonderful experience. We traveled all over the country. We met a lot of other musicians, a lot of other bands that we were friends with. And, you know, similar to the way it is here where I play now, there's a whole music community that kind of fun together. Uh, so yeah, that was a great experience, and we did that for a number of years where we didn't hardly ever take a break. We were just on the road full time all the time. Um, so that's kind of, you know, a little bit about the musical history leading up to that. And then after I left the band, was probably around 81, I think. Um, and I moved to Dallas for a little while, and then I ended up moving back to Denver. Stayed there for another 5 years, and then eventually moved up to the Seattle area.
Why
And
did you come to Seattle for work or?
yeah, I when I was looking for a real job to figure out what I was going to do with my life, I was delivering pizzas for Domino's, and the woman that owned the 2 stores I worked for kind of mentored me and put me into the management program, and I eventually got to a point where I wanted to become a franchisee. And I
Yeah.
almost became a Domino's franchisee, but that's a long story. And one thing led to another, and I shifted gears and ended up with Subway sandwiches. And and my opportunities in Denver weren't as good, so I ended up moving up to the Seattle area and opening my first Subway store up here. That was
Oh,
in '91.
wow.
And then very shortly after that, I met my future wife, and now we've been married for 33 years. And we have one son who's 31 years old,
Is he into
and
music?
he's definitely into music. He's got a great ear, and in school he played French horn, but he also played trumpet in the jazz band, and
Ah,
that was his real passion. As a matter of fact, for a while he was in a big band that was led by his director, and they were playing down in like down at like Tula's and places in downtown Seattle and whatnot, and they were really good. So he really enjoyed that quite a bit. So,
ah.
um, but yeah, he's got a great ear for music. So
So during that time that you were with Subway in Seattle, after you'd come from Texas, right? In Dallas, you'd come from Dallas to Seattle.
no, no, I went back to Denver for a few
Oh,
years,
you
and
went back to
then
Denver.
I came
Okay.
back to Seattle. Yeah.
So in the time that when you came, you said it was like in the later 80s, early 90s,
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah.
Was the rock scene at that time? I heard there was quite a rock scene in that period of time. London Bridges Studio, I think, is one of them, where all the greats, so supposedly rock greats, had done their recordings with record companies, etc. Were you part of that scene, or are you exposed to it in any way?
I wasn't part of that scene, but when I moved to Seattle in '91, I remember an issue of Rolling Stone coming out that the cover said Seattle, the new Liverpool. And it was all about, Nirvana and Pearl Jam
Right.
and Candlebox, and all these bands were like, Mudhoney, and it was all about the whole scene in Seattle. And it was exciting to be moving up here right when that was like taking
Right.
off. And so,
Yeah.
definitely it was a great time to be here. And so I really wasn't pursuing trying to, I was so busy, setting up my new business and whatnot, that I really wasn't pursuing much music at the time. And I would say probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years after I got here, I'd already gotten married by that point, and then we had our son in '94. That's when I started picking up my acoustic guitar again, and I hadn't really played it much at all for several years, and started fiddling around with that. And then we'd go camping, and I'd kind of play around the campfire and do all that. And before you knew it, my son was in scouts, and I'm playing at the scout campfires and things like that. So I started building up a little more confidence to play in front of people on acoustic guitar. And but I really didn't get back into the swing of things until I'd say closer to like 2015, 2016 is when I really started playing at my very first open mics. And a friend brought me to an open mic. I think it was at Tim Noah's Thumbnail Theater, was maybe the first time I ever played at an open mic. And so I played there for a while, and I played at some places in Snohomish, and just started building that up. And I got to a point where I really wanted to get to a point where I could play a whole gig instead of just an open mic. And it took me a while to build up the courage and the confidence to ask somebody, can I do a whole show? And there was a guy that was nice enough to give me a shot on a Thursday night, and I played there. And luckily, I had good marketing skills, so I had a pretty good crowd there, and that led to being able to play on a weekend, and it just kind of took off from there. So
And
that's
now
kind of how I got my start.
so excuse me. Now, yeah, are you doing? I'm assuming, not a good thing to do, but I'm assuming that you still gravitating towards more rock music. Is that correct?
I have a very, very broad taste in music, thanks to working at the record store
Right.
for so long.
Right.
So my tastes really vary tremendously, and that's one of the things that I kind of take pride in. That the people that I play with now, we have a very broad range of styles of what we play. It's kind of hard to just pinpoint exactly that we're '70s classic rock or whatever you want to call
Right.
it.
Right.
So it really crosses a number of
Seven
decades, a
lines.
number of different musical genres, and we're kind of proud of that fact that a lot of people comment on what an interesting set list we have.
So, do you play rhythm guitar, or are you playing your own lead?
Mostly rhythm. I started out as just a chord strummer and I'm a flat picker. I'm not really a finger picker, although I'm starting to learn more about how to do that lately, and getting slowly a little better at that. But
Yeah.
mainly a flat picker and mostly a chord strummer. But I usually leave the leads up to the other guys that I'm playing with, although I do a couple here and there. Um,
I get that, John. I do that too. Yeah, that lead stuff. I don't
pretty
know.
Yeah,
It's not
I
good.
always envied the guys that just had the ear for, didn't even matter if they knew what key it was in, and they could just play
Right.
along. And it's like,
Right.
I'm not quite there yet. So
I think well, two things. Well, I think jams really help us expose us to a lot of things that we didn't know we could do. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing because mistakes are made and people don't always know the music. But on the other hand, you get to play in front of people, you get to sharpen your skills, and you get to play with all different kinds of people with all different kinds of music. I mean, there
sure.
are opportunities there. And the
Hmm.
second thing that you said that I have a theory about, well, an untested theory, or at least a hypothesis, is that you drummers make the best rhythm players and leads. There's something about there's something about learning those timing skills on the drums and those beats that carries with you regardless of what instrument you're using. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree. I think that the years that I spent playing drums were hugely helpful in what I do now. And I've got a natural
Here for it.
metronome in my head, and
Yeah.
so when I'm learning a song and playing songs, it makes a huge difference to me to be able to just have that natural ability to
Okay.
kind of count in my head, and that's really helped out a lot. Yes.
Well, I hired Tommy Cook. I don't know if you know him. He plays over at Peebles a lot,
Hmm.
and to teach me cajon. And it didn't last long because, first of all, I started getting the craving to want to play drums, and that's just too much. But what happened was it helped me because of the beats. By learning it, it helped improve my timing. I truly believe that. And so anytime you do something like that, I think it does. It helps. It just applies everywhere.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So we left you with 2015. Now, are you in a band at this time, or what are you doing today?
Yeah. So for a while, let's see. After I was playing a couple of solo gigs and things like that, and then I was playing with another guy for a short period of time, and then COVID hit. So
Yeah,
obviously everything shut down at that point, and I did do a little bit of writing during COVID, and we can talk
yeah,
about that more if you want to. But
yeah. I do.
okay,
That's yeah. You're a singer songwriter too. Then have
yeah,
you
yeah.
recorded it?
So
Have you recorded?
yeah, I haven't really done any like professional studio recording, but I do have a home studio and I've done some recording there. And during COVID, actually, there was nothing else to do, so it kind of forced you into becoming more creative at home because what else is there to do? So
All right.
I did write a few songs there, and one of them I think I posted a video for you on. That particular song actually was written based on the fact that I'm really big into outdoorsy things. I do a lot of hiking, a lot of backpacking, and I love the mountains. And when COVID hit and everything started completely shutting down, I had the intention of sort of riding it out up in the mountains hiking. But I discovered very quickly that they'd even like put tape across all the trailheads, and they didn't even want anybody out on the trails. I mean, it was like literally stay home.
What?
And
Why?
so I couldn't go anywhere. So for a
Why?
while there, I think it has
Why,
something to
John?
do
Why
with,
did
first
they
of
do
all,
that?
people gathering at trailheads or gathering on the trails, and they just everything was shut down. They didn't have any employees. There was nobody to clean the restrooms, do the trash. No rangers out on the trails for taking care of people. So they just basically said you can't go anywhere.
Ah,
So in my in my need for the wilderness, I ended up writing a song called "Give Me a Mountain," and I kind of paired it up with I do a lot of photography, so I paired it up with a lot of
uh,
photography and made sort of a video of that song that I recorded here at home, and then added the photos to it and made it into a video. So that turned out pretty well. So
and that's what we have on here, right?
when you do have that, that's the one that's
Okay.
called
Well, we're
"Give
going to
Me a
play that
Mountain."
a little bit later.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about your songwriting. So how obviously I know what the reason for writing the song was. I mean, you can go out in the woods. Why not write about it and play about it, right? But how did it? Did you have an idea in your head from playing the guitar and the drums, etc., in your past life? Did you have? Did you just sit down and write it, or did it take a while, or how did that writing go that first time?
The songwriting process in general to me is extremely frustrating, and I know the solution to it, which is write every day. That's what
Yeah.
any writer will tell you, is write every day. And I just have never been disciplined enough to sit down and write every day. So I've got tons and tons of songs that have like a verse or two, and that's where they end. because I
No,
just
no.
haven't been able to finish them up. Um, but I also find it very interesting to try to write in different formats. Like, for example, do the music first and put lyrics to it, write the lyrics first and put music to it, try to write a song that doesn't rhyme, or take different types of rhyming schemes and try to fit it there. I was influenced by a particular song that I heard by a band that I really liked that only had like one riff in the whole song, but there was like the verses and then the middle eight part, even though it was the same riff, was a completely different melody. And it fascinated me. So I tried to write a song with just one riff in it. So, the different ways that people write is really intriguing to me.
Yes, it is.
And so, but I think lyrically is where I tend to bog down a little bit, that I have an idea for a song, but I run out of things to say about it by the end of a verse or two, it seems like. So,
Do you collaborate at all with someone when have you collaborated at all in your
only back in the days when I was in the rock band, we wrote a number of songs back in those days, and we collaborated quite a bit where we would actually, maybe somebody might already have the lyric done, and
right?
we would just come up with all the music together. And that was a lot of fun, and we did a lot of writing back in those days, and I really enjoyed that a lot. But lately, I haven't really done any major collaborating with other people as far as writing, but I'd definitely be interested in doing that more.
So you do have an idea out there of how to do it. I mean, you
Mhm.
didn't come in it totally cold. If
Right.
you had done it before to some extent, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've done that. I got a song coming up. I don't know when it's going to be put out there. Probably before long. I'm hoping July. And I collaborated with a young lady named Jessica
Mm,
Floam, Floam. And
mm,
she plays the ukulele. Ukulele, you mentioned that. And this
mhm.
little gal, she's like in her 20s, middle 20s, and man, she's all over the place. And she's got a really keen feel for music and how to kind of go with the flow to get it to work. And I had this song where I had to have somebody singing in French. So it's not a country song. It's more of a French pop rock kind
Okay.
of. We call
Mm,
it. What do they call it? The French something. Oh, I can't remember. But anyway, we just got through putting it to drums. But this song is I sing the part in English and she sings it in French.
oh, cool.
And yeah, it's really different. And it's the first time that I've actually really the words came. They're all my words. I don't have to worry about that part. But trying to do that music, it was like totally out of my comfort zone. I'm
Oh,
more. I'm trying to write, you know, things that are a little more new country rather than the older traditional or
mhm,
classic country, whatever they call it today.
mhm.
But we thought, I don't want to be limited, and so you think you were talking about that where you say, you have such a vast field towards so much music out there, and all of it is different in some ways, hard to classify genre. And are you planning or thinking about writing in different genres or different types of songs in the future, or is this one kind of shut you down a little?
No, I think that, I'm definitely open to it. And I kind of, it's interesting because I tend to go through bursts of where I just sort of feel more creative. And I can't really explain that too well, but sometimes
Don't
I
have
have these
to.
bursts
I'm
and then
sure
I'll
there are
I'll be
songwriters.
able to write a number of songs in a fairly short span of time, and then I'll go for ages without writing at
Right.
all. So it kind of varies a little bit. But
Yeah,
as far as the style of music and whatnot, that just kind of comes with the inspiration of whatever the idea was,
it
maybe that
is.
I had for either a
I got
lyric
it. Okay.
or a musical riff of some kind. I've got a number of songs that are also almost completely done instrumentally, but I just need to put lyrics to them.
Yeah.
So it seems like lately it's been easier for me to write the music than the lyrics.
Yeah, some people are like that. There's a guy out there I met during this whole COVID thing. His name is Raymond Hayden, and he's been helping new singer songwriters come up, and he's a pianist, and he's got a young lady that I interviewed on here not too long ago, Megan Story, and he writes the music and she writes the words. You know, sometimes it's just happens that way, and that's what they did, and it's good.
It works for Elton and Bernie.
Right, right, exactly. So when you look back, was there any time over the years when you were dabbling with your music um, that you could say, "Wow, I'm doing the right thing. I want to pursue this. Maybe I can't do it right now because I'm getting married and having a business and having a child, but I really want to do this." Were there any aha moments, anything that happened to you that made you feel like you not only love music, want to do music to an audience, but you just knew you were pursuing the right thing?
Well, I've always dearly loved music. I've had a huge passion for music my whole life, and that's kind of been interwoven into growing up with a very musically progressive mother and working at the record store and being in the rock band. So it's always been there. Um, and when I was back in the rock band, of course, we were 18 and we were all prepared to make it big and live happily ever after. Um, and obviously that didn't really pan out. But as far as what I'm doing now, I'm retired. I'm have all the time in the world to play, and I play a lot because I play with two different guys, and it's like a dream come true to just be able to be practicing, during the week and playing gigs whenever we can get gigs. And we love playing in front of people and performing for people. And for that matter, even the smaller things, like I just went on a trip and, there was a night where we met a couple of people on a trail and they happened to be camped near us and we invited them over and I got to play for them for a couple of hours. And the ability to just perform for somebody that's never even heard you before is also a real privilege, and really enjoy that a lot. So, yeah.
That answers that question. Never had a really bad time where you said, "No, I don't want to do this anymore."
Yeah, no, it's always
Yeah.
very enjoyable. Yeah, I get a lot out of it.
You say you play with two different people. I know Mark Goldberg. He's been on my show.
Uh-huh.
He's interviewed with me, and he's also a friend. I've been at his house and played in a song circle over there a time or two. And he's very well. He has very good guitar skills, and he's singer songwriter as well. Have you and I know you play with Mark because I've seen the pictures. I unfortunately haven't caught you guys yet anywhere where I could see it. But the two of you, have you ever thought about writing music with Mark?
Definitely, yeah. Mark's a very proficient writer, and he writes a lot, and he writes very interesting material. And we've done some of his originals where I've figured out parts to go with what he's playing and harmonies to go with what he's singing. And so we've performed several of his tunes when we've been out live, and vice versa. There's a couple of my songs that we've also tailored so that he learned his parts and different harmonies to sing along with mine. So we have collaborated in that sense, but at the moment we've never actually sat down and written together. So, that's certainly something that we'd love to
Think
pursue.
about
We'll see where that goes. So that would
absolutely.
be interesting. Yeah.
So this I know about your performances with Mark. Like I said, I haven't seen them, but who's the other person you play with? That's
Yeah.
totally unknown to me.
So
In
Mark and
fact,
I
so
have
are
been,
you. You just
yeah.
happen to pop up.
So Mark and I have been performing together since right after the first year of COVID. We already knew each other from open mics,
Ah,
and he actually what started all this is I remember he was playing his piano at an open mic one night. And he played an Elton John song that I also play on guitar. And I
Ah,
thought, well, perfect. If we got
yeah.
together, we could maybe do this at an open mic together sometime. And so at one point after COVID had been around for a while, and he called me up and we got together. So we played through that song, and then we just tried several other songs, and it just kind of clicked. And that was, I don't know, 4.5 years ago.
Wow.
And we've been playing ever since. So that's been going great. And we really have a very good musical rapport. I don't know what it is about the two of us, but it's very easy for us to pick up new songs and just learn them and play them and make them sound good.
Yeah,
So we really
that's a
enjoyed
gift.
that. And,
That's a
and then
gift.
yeah, it's been great. So and then you mentioned the other thing that I'm in,
Yeah,
and then with
yeah,
Mark, we have a band name. We're called Mark and John's Music Shop, and
yeah,
so that's what we go by when we're
yeah.
performing out
Good.
live. And then a couple of years ago, I also met another guy at an open mic whose name is Matt, and we got together a couple of times and just sort of played, and that also started to click, and we were really enjoying that. So he had asked me to be one of his hired guns at a gig that he was going to play as a solo artist, and I was basically rhythm guitar and background vocals, and that just kind of led to a more equal collaboration. And so now we are called Vicious Chipmunks, and that's the name.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, so that's
Did you
the
play
name
the
of the
Oxford?
not at the Oxford, but we've played at Port Gardner. We
Oh,
played
that's it.
numerous
Yeah,
other
Fort
places. Matter
Gardner.
of fact, we're playing at Port Gardner next Saturday, actually.
Okay, great.
Um, but at any rate, when I play stuff with him, the only big difference is that he's retired and Mark isn't retired. So
Yeah,
I can rehearse with Doc 3 times a week for
right.
4 hours a day. And with Mark, we can
Yeah,
only rehearse on Sundays during the school year, uh, one day a week. So,
yeah.
but
Mark's a
it
school bus
all
driver.
but Mark is he's really good at picking things up the first time and just learning them. So it doesn't take us that long to learn a new song.
Right.
So anyway, I get an immense amount of satisfaction playing with both of these guys. I mean, they're very different. I can't say the styles are extremely different. I mean, if you took the songs and said, well, what kind of material do you play? It's still all kinds of sort of classic rock tunes from the 60s through now. Um, but it just feels a little different when I'm playing with each of them. And I learn a lot from both of them. So it's really been a great, great experience for me.
What's Matt's last name?
Kastner,
What?
Matt Kastner.
Kastner.
Kastner, yeah.
Yeah, I can't say I ran into him. I'll have to
Yeah,
find out who this is. Now, we
yeah.
were talking just a little bit about COVID. Which of these two recordings are about the COVID?
The one called "Give Me a Mountain" was written during COVID, and that's the
Okay,
one that is sort of.
about the,
It's really
it's
almost more of a meditation than a song. It's just a whole thing about how I gain, more balance from being out in the mountains and
yeah.
whatnot like
Okay,
that.
well,
So
let's
that's
play
what
it.
that's about. Sure,
Sure.
that sounds great.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing it.
Give me a mountain that reaches to the sky, and all below a sea of clouds, the kind like when you fly. It puts me in a higher place, I couldn't tell you why. Give me a mountain that reaches to the sky. Give me a river smooth and slow, I can let my body drift and feel the water flow. Let it wash away my worries when I am feeling low. Give me a river, smooth and slow. Give me a forest with a cool and quiet breeze. Rays of sun like laser beams filter through the trees. A symphony of music from the birds and the buzzing bees. Give me a forest with a cool and quiet breeze. Give me an evening where I can lay my head, stare up at a billion stars, and have my spirit fed, with no regrets to bind me, and nothing left unsaid. Give me an evening where I can lay my head. Give me a lifeline when I fall overboard. Hand me down my old guitar, so I might strike a chord. When I'm lost a compass to keep me aiming forward. Give me a lifeline when I fall overboard. Give me a mountain that reaches to the sky, and all below a sea of clouds, kind like when you fly. It puts me in a higher place, I couldn't tell you why. Give me a mountain that reaches to the sky. Give me a mountain that reaches to the sky.
Gee, John, that was so pretty. I love the imagery on it.
Oh,
Love the song, and I'm hoping it stays on this video, that it's part of the part that's recorded in the interview, so I can listen to it on my TV.
okay. Yeah, it's on YouTube, so if you just look up my
Okay.
name,
All
you
right,
can
great.
find it there.
And
Yeah.
then perfect. And now there's another. How did you get it to load? No, that's another subject. I better go. Uh, now the other one we're going to listen to. What is this? Can you introduce?
The other one is called Pacific Northwest Rain. And I remember the idea for this came when I was coming back from a show at the Tractor Tavern with a guy by the name of Rhett Miller, who's from the old 97s. And it was just torrential rain on the way home. And this one line came into my head about the rain is pouring down all around my town. And I just kept that in my head till I got home, and the whole thing just kind of poured out pretty quickly. That was one of those nice deals where, you know, I didn't have to think too hard and the lyrics just came out. It's definitely not autobiographical, but it's basically a song about someone who lives in the Pacific Northwest and his significant other leaves him, and
Right.
how he's dealing with that. So anyway,
All right,
some
here goes.
Pacific Northwest Rain.
All right, here, play it.
The rain is pouring down all around my town, and I haven't seen a dry spell for days. I think with all this water, I guess perhaps I ought to come to terms with the fact that it ain't gonna go away. The price of making home in the heart of the convergence zone is that it rains here more than any other place. But it's where I chose to live, so I suppose I must forgive you for leaving me without a trace. Wondering if you'll ever feel my pain. Chew you to the bone like Pacific Northwest rain. Maybe the sun might one day make a run, and the dark clouds overhead will disappear. I'll look up to the sky and give up wondering why, and I'll smile at the thought of when I held you near. But now I'm wondering if you'll ever feel my pain. Chew you to the bone like Pacific Northwest rain. Chew you to the bone like Pacific Northwest rain.
There you have it.
Bravo! I love that. Yeah, great. I heard a little bit of feedback in there. I'm not sure why that was, but I enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed it. But I loved the first one. That one is that I'm a John Denver fan. And the second one that we played, that's I can hear the folk music influence in that for odd reasons. I don't know why, but I can tell that it's in there. That you have some kind of a history with that music because it's part kind of built in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I enjoyed it. I do see somebody is watching us here. They haven't made any comments, but I was kind of wondering what happened because usually I have people here, but so many of us work now. We're not going to make a living very easily on music these days. So where can we find your music, John? Where can we go to see? Number one, where your gigs are, and number two, anything about you, like a website or a YouTube page, whatever.
Yeah. For Mark and John's Music Shop, we have our own Facebook page. And so if you go there and you hit follow, then certainly you'll be notified whenever we have gigs coming up. And then we also have a YouTube channel, also under that same name. And then the same thing goes for Vicious Chipmunks. We have a Facebook page and we also have a YouTube channel there. So the Facebook page is really the best way to go connect to us and follow us, and that way you'll be notified.
So how do I get to this Facebook page, John?
You just type in Vicious Chipmunks on Facebook and it should bring you straight to our page. If you type it in on YouTube, you might have to scroll through several videos of various chipmunks fighting each other before you get to our page.
That's cool. And then the other one,
and Mark and John's, the Mark and John's Music Shop, you use the and symbol. So it's Mark with the and symbol and then John's with the parentheses Music Shop. Or
can you send that to me so I could post it online?
Right now?
Musicians? No, after we're done.
Oh, yeah, that's sure, fine. You bet. Yeah, I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, and I'll post that on Matured Musicians. And by the way, you can post too. Be sure to post your upcoming events on there. Just go to Matured Musicians group on Facebook, and it should take you in. I think you're a member, so I thought I saw your name on there.
Yeah.
I don't remember everybody. They keep coming in and coming and going. It's like a train station. So, anyways, I think that is a good way to find you, and I will definitely be looking and posting on Matured Musicians. I also encourage you to do the same. And what do you have coming up? What gigs and which band?
Mark and I just played Saturday night out down in Duval at William Grassi Wine.
Yeah, I know. I go there to the jam every now and then.
And at the moment, we don't have any other gigs lined up, although we're working on that. So if anybody wants to hire us, please get in touch.
Absolutely.
Vicious Chipmunks is playing this coming Saturday at Port Gardner Bay Winery. Okay. And I believe I did post that on Matured Musicians. So you should be able to find that.
Okay.
And then we've got several other gigs coming up spread out over a period of time. Sometimes we play up in Bellingham at a senior citizens home up there. Yeah. And then we've also got a gig lined up, I think June 24th, we're playing at the Everett Farmers Market. And a couple of other gigs that I can't remember the dates of. And then what's really going to be fun is Halloween night is a Saturday night. And we're playing back at Port Gardner Bay Winery, and we're going to be doing an entire night of nothing but Beatles tunes. So that should be loads of fun. We're massively learning all kinds of Beatles songs at the moment, and looking forward to playing that. So that should be a lot of fun. That's a real challenge because singing Beatle harmonies is no easy.
Yeah, that's kind of difficult, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've been working very, very hard on that, and that's one thing in general that both Mark and I and Matt and I take huge pride in, is that we put a lot of work into trying to do good quality vocal harmonies. And that's definitely an area that, for umpteen years when I was playing just by myself, I didn't have any opportunities and always wanted to play with another person so that not only could we have two guitar parts or guitars and keyboards going on, but especially that we could work on vocal harmony. And that's been something that we've really, really been working hard on. And the results are showing we're getting much better than we used to be. So,
yeah, I don't play alone. I don't like it. I can do it. I just don't like it. I don't do fancy enough. Let's say I don't do a more advanced kind of rhythm playing. And so I always feel that the music is too empty. It's, there's no vocals, there's no anything else happening in the music. So I'm glad you found your people and you have some gigs coming up that you can share your music with us. Have you tried the Oxford yet, you and Mark?
I think we both played there individually at open mics, but I've never actually played a gig there yet, and we'd like to do that. We
So
just
you've been there. You must have seen me. I pitch him there
probably, yeah.
regularly.
Well, I might have even seen you at Mark's house for one of these
Ah,
sing-arounds at some point.
yeah, you could have.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
if it's been in the last 4 years, unless we were out
Yeah,
of town or
yeah.
something, we would have
It was
gone.
it was at his wife's Anne Marie's birthday party. Our birthdays are similar dates, so
Oh, okay. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I meet so many people. It's so hard for me to keep all these names in here. And then as soon as somebody changes their clothes or they change their hair or they do something different, I'm like, oh gosh, no, I know that person. I can feel it. I just don't remember the name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the music community around Snohomish County is just wonderful. I mean, we've met so many people over these years, and it's just a very welcoming, group of people, and they're, very supportive of each other, and it's just been a great group of people to be associated with.
Right. Yeah, there's all kinds of, the thing is, there's always different groups. Well, all music, big movement area. And even though we're in just sort of competing for the gigs, it's still not that cutthroat around here. I don't know where there's other places, but so there are groups that form within the group, and there's a definite Seattle group and Dogma group. There's cake at Poorhouse Pizza every Sunday, 6 to 10. Shout out there. Um, and it's run by Doug McGrew and Lynn Sorensen. Yeah, whenever I need players, I hire those two.
Okay.
Yeah, they're good players. Anyway, you have to try to come out if you can. I would love to see you there.
Yeah,
And another thing, there's do you know Joni Haller from? She sometimes does the jams. Joni, Pam, and
I think we've met, but I don't really know.
yeah. Well, hopefully you'll see them. And she just had a backyard concert. I posted some things on Facebook from that. And it's a big, huge, beautiful piece of property with a pond and a beautiful stage that they built for it. And she holds concerts or events there 3 times a year. And she's got another one coming up in July. And I'm sure those people would love you and Mark too, because you're kind of moving in the same circles without really touching each other. It's like you're part of it, because if you go to Grazi's, that's the group, that the Duval group.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully I'll see you there in the summer. And
Yeah, I'd like that.
I'll look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're open to playing just about anywhere. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're getting close. We have about 7 minutes, and did that time go fast for you?
Yeah. I think it's wonderful. I really appreciate the service that you're doing of interviewing all these musicians. It's
I've been doing it for 4 years, John. 4 years.
Wow. Yeah, I've watched a bunch of them, and it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do as many. I'm kind of running out of people, so I can only go out so many times a week. Last week I was out five jams, and sometimes I get the names of bands or whatever, and then I might lose one or something for some reason. I miss them. And so if you know of anybody that wants that just starting or been, established, and they need a little promotion, it's a good place to get it. It's free. So
Okay.
the only thing I ask is, if it's possible at all, that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can find it by going to Joy and Lingerie, or Joy Lingerie, LAJERET. Anybody out there listening for that? And other than that, that's about it. I do want to find out a little bit more about if you have a future plan, like say from now 5 years. I mean, 5 years can be a long time in the future when we don't know what's going to happen from day to day. But do you have any kind of a goal or 5-year plan as to what you want to move more towards in the future?
I think if anything, it would probably just be to, figure out a way to find more opportunities to play live. I don't really have like, I mean, at my age, I'm not really looking to try to make it big as a
Yeah,
musician
right.
at this
That
point.
train passed.
Um,
It's
I'm,
over.
I'm actually, living my dream, just doing what I'm doing right now, and thoroughly enjoying it immensely. But I've also got various other interests in my life, and so you know, I see some people that like music is their only thing, and they're like I said, they're out 5 6 nights a week, and that's all they do, that's all they talk about and whatever. But I've got a variety of other things going on in my life as well, so it's a good balance. And
Right.
I love playing music, and we do it a lot, but there's times when I'm okay with not necessarily being so involved with that at the time. So
I can't go up in the mountains and go to the trails anymore unless it's mobility scooter accessible. I mean, I can walk around, but I have trouble on long distance, but I'm still working on it. And I stepped off the stage in Maltby Pizza, which gives a jam on Thursday nights, and it was too high. And when I came down all my weight on a leg that I've been kind of nursing along.
mm,
And boy, I'll tell you, I've been using the cane from time to time, and I've been in more pain than I realized was out there. And it's coming along, and I hope to be able to get there out in the trails somehow. But
yeah,
for long distance right now, I've got to aid. I don't want to do that. I want to go out there, and I
mm,
really miss that. Kurt and I used to go out all the time on the weekends when we weren't playing, so which
yeah.
is seldom for a while, but.
Yeah, yeah. My wife and I just got back from a month-long trip to southern Utah.
Oh, I love that place.
And
I went to school there.
we must have hiked close to 50 or 60 miles over the course of that trip. I mean, we went all over the place.
Yeah.
It
We
was-
went to Arizona in 2019. And that was my first time. And he's got family there, and I had friends there, and our neighbor lives there. He's Snowbird. And we walked everywhere we walked among those ruins. By the time I got home, I almost needed a month to recover. It was great. I loved it.
uh-huh.
So,
Yep.
what pearls of wisdom would you like to give people that might be just starting out listening to this? And people do find these on YouTube. I mean, even though it's gone and past, they're there, and they pop every now and then. I know people are watching them. And so, what words of advice would you give them that you've learned over the last how many years that you've been playing music, or even working in a shop and listening to it?
Mhm. Well, I guess I would say play what you like. Find songs that you enjoy, and there's so many great ways to learn them now. I mean, it used to be very difficult to even find music or how to play something
Absolutely.
unless you
Yes.
learn to play by ear. But now there's Ultimate Guitar, which is a wonderful app,
Yeah.
and all kinds of different ways to find chords and how to play songs. So, find songs that you just enjoy yourself and learn how to play them. And of course, for somebody brand new, keep playing until you get calluses. Don't give up just because your fingers are
I got
sore.
a tip there. John, I got to interrupt you a minute. I don't recommend it necessarily unless you know what you're doing, but when you don't have calluses, I take super glue and put it on the tips of my fingers.
Oh,
But I don't touch anything, and I let it dry completely.
I was going to
And
say,
then I
wait to
have,
play the guitar until it dries.
yeah, right. And that way, by the time your fingers adjust and all that super glue falls off, you've got those calluses.
There you go. That's a
Go
great.
ahead. Finish what you were saying. I just had to interrupt there.
Yeah. So, I mean, just in general, I mean, there's a whole, when you're performing live, there's a whole thing that says, play what the audience wants to hear.
Yeah.
And I've always found that I want to find a balance between what the audience wants to hear and what I get personal enjoyment from. I'm
Right.
not going to play something that I just can't stand
Yeah.
just because it's a
Right.
huge audience favorite. So that's something we're always juggling as well. Is we want to please the audience, and the audience in general, most people want to hear songs that they're familiar with. So if you're playing a ton of obscure songs, which I've been known to do, um, it
Yeah.
doesn't go over as well. But I still want to find that balance of being able to incorporate that aspect of playing just songs that I just love. And a good song is a good song. So if you play it well and you enjoy playing it, it's going to ring with somebody. So, I
I
think that,
agree with that, John. I do.
yeah.
So we are now out of time. It's a little past one. It's 1:01.
All right.
Enjoyed our time together, John. I hope you come back. I usually ask people if they're willing to come back in 6 months to a year or so and fill us in on their progress and what might be happening. So keep that in mind. I'd be more than happy next time to have one of your partners on with you if you'd like. I
Yeah,
mean,
I think that would be great.
whatever, just let me know. And if you know anybody out there that you'd recommend for the show, let me know and I'll put them on.
That sounds wonderful. Well, again, I can't thank you enough for the opportunity and just the
Welcome.
service that you provide to the music community. This has been wonderful. So thanks again.
All right. Thank you, John. You
Yeah,
take care, and hopefully I'll catch you in one of these gigs somewhere down the road.
that would be great. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Well, that's it for me. There will be no interview on Memorial Day. Um, I think that I have a day that I'm going to take off. Sorry about that, but I'll be back the next Monday. I do have another person coming out to interview with us. So take care. Have a great holiday, a great rest of your week, and I'll see you down the road. Bye. Well, maybe not.